How do my mobile data connection, internet connection, and Wi-Fi connection all relate? Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. It's one of those situations where I get a couple of questions or I'm talking to someone and they're confused about a specific topic. When that happens twice in the same week, I kind of take it seriously, and that's where this topic came from. It is in some ways a basic topic, and I think it's one of those things that we also often take for granted that everybody just kind of sort of gets. Everybody doesn't just kind of sort of get. The recent situation we found ourselves in is that we had a power outage. We had a multi-day power outage here in the Pacific Northwest. And the question then was, well, okay, the internet, is it going to work? And if it does, where's the connection coming from? Well, it could come from many different places. So what I want to do is I want to go over exactly those three connection types that people often confuse with each other and show you exactly how they do, and perhaps more importantly in one case, how they don't relate. So I'm going to start with the mobile or cellular connection without data. Just talking about the phone being a phone. They work by communicating with a number of cellular towers in range of the phone. These are used to connect to the wider phone network, and they're what allows you to make phone calls, voice calls, or send text, SMS text messages. That's the phone network. As it turns out, I mention it here only because, well, for completeness. Because in reality, it has almost nothing to do with connecting to the internet. Your mobile connection is all about making voice calls and sending SMS text messages. Okay, mobile data. The layout looks really similar to what we had for the mobile voice network. And that's not too surprising. While the voice network was created first, the fact that these devices could eventually carry data was simply layered on top of the existing network. So the existing network looks very similar to the phone network. But instead of handling calls and SMS text messages, this network carries data. It's sending and receiving packets of data. So I want to reinforce that. These are two separate things, your voice SMS and your data on your mobile phone. It's not even that uncommon for the voice/SMS technology to work in places where your mobile data just doesn't. Now, there is one important characteristic that will actually affect some of the decisions made later about mobile data. And that is, well, sometimes you're only given a certain amount of mobile data included in your plan. That's why you see things like 5 gigabytes of data included. If you exceed that amount, then a couple of things can happen. It's possible that you may incur additional charges. Hopefully you'll get notified first, or you'll get slowed down, or both. So mobile data is used by the internet-enabled apps on your phone. If you read email, browse the web, fire up a ride-sharing app, or any of those kind of other apps that are on your phone, you're using mobile data. If you're making a voice call, and if you're sending a text message using SMS, then you're not. That has nothing to do with mobile data. All right. So we've got our phone kind of sussed out, right? It has two networks that it's talking to, the mobile voice network and the mobile data network. Now, at home, things are actually a little bit simpler. Typically, you get the internet into your home via a connection from your ISP. It'll be DSL over your existing copper telephone lines, or via cable, or via something else. The important thing to realize here is that this connection is only to the router, the very first device that is connected to whatever your ISP is providing you. Somewhere in your home, there's a router. That's the connection to the internet. We'll see why it's important in a second to call that out as being something separate, because that's as far as the internet goes without help. Now we get to talk about Wi-Fi. We've got the internet to the router in your home, but now we actually want to connect to the various devices that you're using. Some devices can be connected with an Ethernet cable, and those are obvious. They're just physically connected to the router, cable to cable, plug to plug. However, more and more we are seeing devices that are now using wireless technology, Wi-Fi. The important thing to understand about Wi-Fi is that a Wi-Fi connection is just a connection between your device and your router. It really actually has nothing to do with the internet. It is simply a way for your device to connect to your router. It's the router then that provides the ongoing connection or the further upstream connection for the internet itself. Okay, great. Let's go back to your phone. Your phone, like I said, tends to use mobile data by default. You may not want to do that. You may want to do something else so as to avoid using too much of your mobile data and getting that extra charge. Most phones these days can now connect via Wi-Fi instead. So what that means is that when you set this up on your phone, rather than connecting to the mobile data network, instead it connects via Wi-Fi to your router. And it's your router and your ISP's internet connection that then provides the data for your phone. There are two reasons you might want to do this. One, you're avoiding the possibility of extra charges if you use too much data, but also it's really not that uncommon right now for the home internet connection to be faster than the mobile data connection. That's what I experience here in my home. That's why I have my mobile devices, my phone and such, connected to my home Wi-Fi rather than using mobile data. Okay, great. So far, we've seen that your mobile device can connect to the mobile network to get its data. Your mobile device can connect to the Wi-Fi in your home instead to get its data. However, things get a little weird. Think about it. Your phone actually has the ability to connect directly to the internet via the mobile data network. And your phone has Wi-Fi capabilities. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to, what I'll call, switch the direction of the way we think about Wi-Fi on your phone, so that instead of using Wi-Fi to connect to the internet, it can provide Wi-Fi for other devices to connect to the internet? That is exactly what a mobile hotspot is. Rather than connecting to a Wi-Fi hotspot, your phone becomes the Wi-Fi hotspot. Devices connected via Wi-Fi then to the phone can use the mobile device's data connection via the mobile network to reach the internet. When you do this, there's nothing else involved. There's no home internet involved. There's no other ISP involved. Your phone simply acts as a Wi-Fi hotspot wherever you have mobile coverage. Now, I find this is useful in two major situations. One, when I'm camping, when I'm out somewhere where there is no other connectivity other than, I've got a cell connection. Using that connection, then I can have data wherever I happen to be. The other scenario, and the one that was most recent, of course, is when my primary internet connection goes down. During our power outage, the primary internet connection to my house went away. So I fired up my phone's mobile hotspot and connected that way. Now, the logical question, of course, after understanding all of these different connection types is, great, how do I do this? How do I know what I'm using? How do I make sure I'm using what I want? Well, unfortunately, I can't really give you step-by-step details because it's going to be different. It's going to be different based on your phone. It's going to be different based on your provider. It's going to be different based on the router you may have at home and so forth. However, what I will try to do is give you enough details at the high level that you'll be able to figure out what's appropriate for your situation. So, using mobile data. Typically, you really need to do nothing. If you've got a data plan with your carrier, then you've got mobile data available to you. And if you've done nothing else, chances are that's exactly the connection you're using whenever you use, say, email on your phone. Now, there is a caveat, and that is that sometimes some phones are pre-configured to connect to nearby open Wi-Fi if it can. The idea is that this would save you the risk of additional charges or something like that. If you want to prevent this, which honestly I kind of recommend because you're connecting through random hotspots that you really have no knowledge of, is to turn off the Wi-Fi on your phone. For example, my phone has a setting for this in the Internet settings where I can turn off Wi-Fi completely, which leaves me with only the mobile data connection. Wi-Fi in the home. There's a good chance you've already done this, or whoever set up your home internet has already done this. On your router, you'll configure a Wi-Fi hotspot by giving it a name to ensure you connect to your hotspot and not someone else's, and a password to ensure that nobody else connects to your hotspot. Then, on your Wi-Fi connected device, you'll look for the Wi-Fi hotspot by name. Normally, we've seen this in Windows with the list of hotspots that we might want to connect our laptop to. In the example here, my laptop is connected to a Wi-Fi hotspot that I've configured in my router to be named NotenLAN-Unify. The first time you connect to a hotspot that has a password, you'll be asked for that password. Now, Wi-Fi and your phone. If you've already got Wi-Fi configured on your router, in other words, in my case, I've got that NotenLAN-Unify hotspot running, then the actions you take on your phone are typically pretty similar to what you might do with a laptop. You'll go to your internet settings, turn on Wi-Fi, and presumably a list of local Wi-Fi hotspots will appear. You tap on the one you want to use. It'll ask you for a password the first time you do that, and boom, you're connected to the internet via Wi-Fi. At that point, everything you do that's data related, in other words, email, web browsing, various apps and such, will go through your ISP's data connection via your Wi-Fi to your router, instead of going through your mobile data connection. Now, reversing it, your phone and the internet. If you look closely at this image, you'll see that there's a button labeled Share Wi-Fi. On my phone, that's one way I can set up a Wi-Fi hotspot. The first time you do so, you'll need to configure a name and a password just like you did for the hotspot provided with your router. You can see here I've given my hotspot a name, askleo.com/hotspot. I'll explain that in a minute. I've turned on security. I've got a password. It's unique to this device. In other words, this hotspot has its own unique name and its own unique password. The reason I use the hotspot name of askleo.com/hotspot, marketing. If you see that, in your list of available hotspots, that means I'm nearby. It's a link to a page on the website. You're welcome to go to it and have a look. In reality, you can call your hotspot whatever the heck you want. I'm just using it as an opportunity to say hi to anybody that notices me nearby. The bottom line here is that you may have internet connectivity options that you don't realize you have. Like I said, during this recent power outage, for example, when my primary internet was down, I turned on my phone into a mobile hotspot that I could continue to use. Regardless, though, you should now have a slightly better understanding of how these cat photos make it to your phone and your laptop via the various connections that you might be using. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/176099. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.